Hey guys, Jessica here. So today we're gonna break from our general reviews that we've been doing on pumps and some of our brief videos answering your lactation questions. And we're gonna go a little bit more in depth today because we're talking about specialty flanges. So specialty flanges are these lovely silicone and plastic numbers we have. These are not your conventional flanges that we see in terms of, this is a conventional flange. It is a hard plastic tunnel. It is a shield that touches the breast, and we measure the size of the shield based on the diameter of the tunnel where it meets the flange. Specialty flanges are designed to address the problems that moms have with these conventional flanges. Realistically, the easiest flange to size is still going to be these hard plastic flanges. It just is what it is. We haven't found a way around that. But we do have quite a few options, and it's really cool seeing how much it has expanded because when I had my first baby, this was it. I had these in a medium, a large, and an extra large, and you just chose the one that hurt the least and gave you the most amount of milk because we didn't have anything really smaller than a 21 readily available on the market. If it did exist, my LCs did not know about it, and the internet did not seem to know about it. So let's start by talking about Pumpin Pals. So Pumpin Pals are designed supposedly to help with milk duct dysmorphia, which is this fun little term that they've made up for talking about for some people, they suspect that milk ducts are actually pulled into the tunnel of the flange and are squished, causing the milk duct to be misshapen and not allowing milk to flow. This is not a medical term. There is no proof that this condition actually exists. It's a marketing term to explain what they think that they're doing. They have several sizes of silicone. Their silicone is going to fit everybody up to 23 millimeters, and then the hard plastic go from 23 millimeters up to 40 millimeters. So these are still our largest flanges on the market. And with the addition of their extra, extra small clear silicone, they go down to 11 to 14 millimeters. So it does cover a wide variety of people. These are still probably the most commonly talked about specialty flanges to date. That's because they have the longest track record. Some people find these really, really good. My experience with them is that they are either hit or miss. The silicone by itself is a little bit of a pain in the butt because when you go to put this to the breast, it doesn't fit very nicely. You're supposed to turn the suction on the pump, pull the flange back, and allow it to better adhere to the breast. Now, that does work pretty well for most people, but with the way most people are pumping, they're not actually doing that. So we do also use them inside of the hard plastic as a shell, and that does allow us to get better suction without having to do the flip trick, but it does make this really heavy. These are marketed for elastic nipples. I actually find that these work best when we're using them upside down on somebody who has like a tubular breast, where the nipples are no longer pointing forward or upwards, and we have a hard time getting other flanges to really fit nicely against the breast because for some people, the more naturally we can have the breast sit, just, as it hangs is how we want it to look while it's pumping. The closer we can get to that, working within the confines of physics and the pump equipment, the better. So I tend to use these a little bit more when I am dealing with somebody who's got more tubular breast. They've got less density to the breast. I do really like these for moms that have had a lot of weight gain and weight loss over the years, and we end up with a breast that is kind of flaccid. It just lacks a lot of that density and fullness that we would typically see with the breast. If you have insufficient glandular tissue, you may also have the anatomy that goes along with that, where we've got the slightly tubular breast. It lacks the density. The areola may be larger. We may see more issues with elasticity. So these are a good option. We do use them. They're just not my favorite. They're not necessarily all that great. The big advantage is that if you do respond well to them, it does allow you to sit, lean back a little bit, which is really nice. But for the most part, they're harder to work with than what I'm finding the average pumping mom is willing to do anymore. Let's talk about Lacteck. So this is another one of our older specialty flanges. So what this is, it is a solid silicone flange. It's actually fairly firm. This part of the tunnel and this part of the flange are fairly firm. These were really popular because for a while, this was our best option if you had wide, broad, kind of basketball-shaped breasts, regardless of size. What that helped us address is like, this is a very wide, broad breast model. If I try to take a hard plastic flange like this and put it on, the breast does not get anywhere near the tunnel. Like the nipple is not in the tunnel. So with Lactech, What that did is it gave us an option that put the nipple closer in the tunnel. And then it has this little thin window that, because of the changes in texture between the silicone, when you apply suction to this, you're going to get this massaging action exclusively at the bottom. They market it as if it works like a baby's tongue. Having nursed and pumped, what I can tell you is that is not what your baby's tongue really feels like. For some people, this can be really helpful. I think the big thing with this is that it helps with moms who can't tolerate compression against the breast. So if the compression of a hard plastic flange or something that is going to grab onto the tissue, like a Pumpin Pal, is not the right fit for you because it's causing constriction of the milk ducts, Lacteck has very minimal to no compression in the actual flange. All of the compression is going to be in that lip. Do make sure that that window is going towards the bottom. I have seen quite a few moms having it up towards the top, and I've seen some really gnarly nipple bruising up here. The reason for that is that typically the breast is a little bit more full on the underside. So when there's a lot of space up at the top, which is what happens here, is we end up with not as much breast tissue right here. This collapse increases that collapsing action, and we see more issues with bruising. So window goes at the bottom. It's meant to simulate the baby's tongue, so it goes where the baby's tongue would go on the bottom. And that really, the advantage is it has minimal to no compression of the breast tissue. Pumpables liquid flanges. So these are actually sold by a couple different companies. The main manufacturer of these that actually owns the patent for the technology is Horizon. So Horizon calls them their 3D flange technology. When they're sold by Pumpables, who has modified the sizing down on these, they're called the liquid flanges. When they're sold by Legendary or by Idaho Jones, they're fluid fit. So it really is all the same thing. The sizing on Pumpables is a little bit more accommodating of everybody because we have 15, 17, and 19. For all the other brands, we basically have 21, 25, 29. So these do cover, again, a wide range of people. I do wish that somebody would come out with them in a 13 millimeter because we need that sizing desperately. I see lots of moms that really would benefit from these liquid flanges, but they can't use it. So what this is they basically took a duckbill and integrated it into this silicone flange. So what ends up happening is when suction is applied, 360 degrees around the nipple, we get a little bit of compression. It's not a ton, and if the flanges are fitted properly, it's going to be minimal squeezing and pinching of the nipple. If this is actually flattening your nipple out, it's either the wrong flange for you or it's the wrong size. So we get this nice compressive, gentle massaging action. So who benefits from this? Moms that could really benefit from hands-on pumping, but don't want to be hands-on pumping. Moms who need that wide, broad flange. This does have a little bit more of the compression on the breast tissue than, let's say, a Lacteck, just because we have this hard silicone ring behind here. So you do get some compression, but it's fairly minimal. It's very universal kind of fit. They've been a really big success. For a lot of people, they're going to love them. Bear Shields. These are one of our newer ones on the market. So the idea behind Bear Shields, we have this stiff silicone tunnel, but then we have this gentle scalloping on the edge, and the actual part that touches the breast is really flexible. So if you were just to put this to the average breast, this is far too deep. But what the whole point of this is to allow this to conform to the breast instead of the breast conforming to the shield. So with hard plastic flanges, the breast tissue is going to be pulled and pushed into the shape of it. With this, it's trying to conform to the breast tissue. For the majority of breast shapes, particularly if you have tubular breasts, if you have more cone-shaped breasts where they kind of come to a point, if they're going to be a little less full, this is going to be a really good fit for you. So what happens is you take it, put it on like this, and flip it back. You get this really good air seal. You can see you get much deeper in the tunnel. Now, if you have really wide, broad breast shape, because this is not super wide, I would love to see these in more of an oval shape, so we got a little bit more ability to manipulate this because it's a really great idea. It's just there's still a percentage of moms for whom this is not great. This can be a really good fit when what we need is not to force it to compress the breast tissue. We want to conform this to the breast, but we need that really nice seal. And for moms who do not want any squeezing action on the nipple. So for some people, the flanges like Lacteck, the flanges like Pumpables liquid flanges that have that compression aspect to them, those are a no-go because they're actually causing restriction of the nipple movement and they're causing vasospasms. So for some people, those do not work. For those moms, they want that stiff tunnel, and then this just works to conform to the breast. Idaho Jones cushy flanges are, this is super exciting. We're actually going to get these in smaller sizes on the market here before too long, which is really, really exciting. It's been a long time coming. But part of the reason a lot of these brands struggle to get smaller than a 15 is trying to get something to feel the same across a size range from 13 to 24. It's really, really hard with silicone because the thinner the opening is, the thicker the tunnel has to be in order to accommodate it. And when we're talking about things that have to be able to move the same, it does get a little tricky. But we are going to get these in smaller sizes, so super excited. The whole point of the Idaho Jones cushy flanges is that it gives you a slight massage action. We've got this nice conformable flange. You can do the same thing you do with some of the other specialties where you can flip them back and put them on to get like that ultimate, your nipple is in the tunnel kind of air seal. Works great. When you do that, this actually kind of is a little grippy, so it really holds onto the tissue. So for moms who do not like the feeling of the flange sliding around on the breast, this could be a really good bet. This part of the silicone right here is a little bit thinner, so when we apply suction to it, what ends up happening is we get a really good massaging action, but it's 360 degrees around the tunnel. So more massaging action than we get with the Pumpables. But we've got a normal flange, which means we're going to have a wider range of options. It's a little bit more compact. You can hook this up to more pumps. Whereas with Pumpables liquid flanges, you're kind of locked into what that diaphragm can do. This can be paired with almost any pump setup on the market, which is really awesome. So this one is going to be really good for elastic nipples. This one's going to be really good for those who need that massaging action, for those who really want something that conforms to the breast, for those who want something that doesn't move around in their bra as much, don't like that sensory texture. These can be used with lubrication. So if you don't like how grippy it feels on your nipple, you can actually add a little bit of lubrication. It's going to feel more similar to the hard plastic flange because this part of the tunnel is a little bit more firm. So all of the compression is happening here. It's not actually going to pinch the nipple because the nipple's going to be back behind here. So the nipple's going to be in this part of the tunnel where there's very minimal compression to no compression. The compression is going to be on the areola. So this is probably the one that feels the closest of all of these flanges to nursing a baby because the pressure is being applied in the right spot. None of them are going to feel exactly like nursing a baby. And then there is one more specialty flange option that we need to talk about. So this is a legendary insert. So this is not technically a flange. You have to use this inside of a cup. You have to use this inside of a 24 millimeter flange. You can use it in wearables, but the reason that this is really nice is that it takes us from being stuck with either silicone inserts that transition to plastic, specialty flanges, which do not always make very great inserts, and it allows us to basically get that soft, smooth silicone. This is the softest of all of the specialty flanges. It is very, very smooth. It's very soft. It's like pumping on a cloud. So for those who need just a little bit of that sensory experience to change to make it softer, a little less noticeable, this is a really great fit. And for those who need consistency to see success with their pumping, whether they are using a wearable or traditional flange, this can be a great option. This also happens to be one of our most universal inserts for wearable pumps. So whatever Legendary did to design these, they did a great job. And now that we have the 13 on the market, we're seeing these be really, really successful with wearables. You can use them with traditional flanges. So for people who want no compression but need that soft silicone, that is the option that we use for that. So we have lots of these specialty flanges. Why do we not recommend these more often? The reality is they're kind of expensive. All of these are going to be a little bit more expensive. Almost all of these, you're going to fall in between the size ranges because there is no like hard plastic ring to get an exact measurement. So they're going to be as close. Some of those are numbers. So Lacteck sells them based on millimeter, but it's depending on where your breast fits into this changes how it would actually fit you. So their 12 may fit you like a 15, their 15 may fit you like a 17, but it may also fit you like a 15 and be very true to size depending on your anatomy, which makes it really tricky to get sized. Oftentimes, moms are going to need to try two sizes. There's also a big difference between their different sizes on these pumps and these flanges. So what we see is that, it's not like trying a 13 and a 15 millimeter flange or a 13 and a 14 millimeter flange. It's like trying a 13 and a 17 millimeter flange. You may fall where you needed a 15, but the company doesn't make it. So you could invest in these and still not like them. There's also a little bit of hit or miss. We just see that these are harder. But yeah, Lacteck is sold by the millimeter. Pumpables is sold by the millimeter. It's almost true to size now, but it's still kind of questionable for a lot of people. Idaho Jones is going to be fairly close to true to size. It's going to be fairly close to what you're using with your hard plastic flanges because of the design of that particular one. Bear Shield actually runs very, very true to size, but there's 3 millimeters in between each size. So we have a bigger gap than average. So if you need a 16 or 17 millimeter flange, I have an option to put you in a 15 or an option to put you in an 18. Because of the silicone, we do have a little bit more wiggle room, but again, it means I'm going to need to recommend that you buy two sets and try them, which can get expensive. For Pumpin Pals, we have a little bit of a size range to them. So it goes like 11 to 14, 15 to 19, 20 to 23, 23 to 29, 29 to 35, 35 to 40. Those are really big size ranges. So if you're at the bottom of the size range, it may be really big on you. If you're at the top of the size range, is actually where I see the most success with it. But that means that there's lots of people that just fall in between it. Legendary is actually going to be fairly true to size. I do see some people talking on the internet right now and in social media groups that Legendary is running big. Legendary is not running big. They're using these cheap silicone rulers to measure, and they're mismeasuring and measuring too large, just because of how thick some of these cheaper rulers are. When they're measuring with one of the thin, clear plastic rulers, we're getting a more accurate size and it's still measuring true to size. If you're measuring using the rulers on my website, it's still measuring true to size. So I don't think they're actually running big. I haven't detected any differences. I replace these quite frequently because I love them for all of my wearables. So I'm not finding that. So I would stick with closer to your actual size. But again, that means that if you need a 14 millimeter flange, you're gonna have to try a 13, you're gonna have to try a 15. We don't have a 14 millimeter. So if you want to try one of these specialty flanges, think about what you're trying to accomplish. Does it actually seem like it will meet your breast anatomy? Do we have any reason to think that this is not a good fit for you? And then are you willing to invest with the possibility that even if it fits you well, it may not do anything for you? Because I still see that hard plastic flanges are producing positive results for most moms. There's definitely less hit or miss with hard plastic flanges than what we see. So do I love these silicone flanges? Absolutely. And I think they have their time and their place. And if they work really well for you, they are awesome and they are far more comfortable to pump with than hard plastic flanges, in my opinion. And that's the same thing my clients are reporting to me is that for some people, these are just more comfortable, which means more milk. But for other people, they're just really hit or miss, and you may need to try a couple styles. So, unless you are working with an LC that has the ability to send you home with different sizes to play with temporarily, which is hard. I mean, I can do that with my clients, but also I have a huge collection of flanges to pick from. So, unless you kind of have that, it is kind of hard to know. You could be out the money. The good news is you can resell them if they don't work for you. So, hopefully, that helps you decide if you want a specialty flange and then which specialty flanges you're most interested in. Hopefully, it helps and happy pumping.